Okay, so you sent us this document, The Greatest Secret by Rhonda Byrne. And, wow, that title, it sets a pretty high bar, doesn't it?
He really does a very high bar.
So our mission here really is to dig into this, try and figure out what that core insight, that, greatest secret actually is that the author's getting at.
Well, what struck me right away was just the sheer scale of it, the dedication. It's aimed at freeing all of humanity from suffering.
Yeah, bringing everlasting happiness. I mean, that's a huge vision from page one.
It is. And then you get that epigraph from Muji, talking about having the greatest news, the most beautiful thing to share.
Definitely makes you lean in, thinking, okay, what is this big reveal?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
And the acknowledgments, they give a few clues, sort of breadcrumbs. The author thanks lots of people, teachers, scientists, doctors.
Right, for their illuminating teachings and leading edge perspective.
And specifically mentions David Bingham, who apparently revealed this truth after searching for 20 years.
Oh, interesting. 20 years.
And also an anonymous teacher who had a really profound impact. So it suggests this isn't maybe a totally new idea.
Maybe more like a powerful reframing of something, perhaps, something fundamental.
That's how it feels.
Now, here's where it got really interesting for me. Early on, it paints this picture, right? Where certain figures throughout history, Buddha, Krishna, Lao Tzu, Jesus,
The big names.
exactly, they tapped into this truth, found lasting peace. But, most of us are still kind of figuring things out.
Well, it speaks to that timeless human search, doesn't it? For peace, for an end to struggle.
Yeah.
And the implication seems to be that this secret isn't some super complicated thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something we just overlook. Too simple, maybe. Or too close.
And then the author speaks directly to you, the reader, hinting that you're actually more than just, the person dealing with the daily grind.
Right. That there might be a fundamental misunderstanding about who we are.
That quote from Jan Fraser really hits it. It isn't the way it appears to be. You aren't what you think you are. It just stops you in your tracks, makes you question things.
It really does. It immediately makes you ask, well, if who I think I am isn't the whole picture, then what else is going on?
Exactly.
And the book quickly pivots to this promise. Lasting happiness comes from understanding your real nature. And it quotes Ramana Maharshi.
Oh, yeah, that powerful line, man's real nature is happiness.
So it seems this greatest secret is directly tied to unlocking this inherent happiness is already there.
What I found really compelling was this idea that once you grasp this true nature, life just shifts. It changes.
How so?
Well, Lester Levinson talks about this permanent state of happiness leading to total freedom. And Jan Fraser, her description is almost dreamlike.
You mean the life without burdens?
Yeah. Without the weight of emotional baggage. Just this quiet joy, effortless action. It sounds incredibly appealing. Imagine not being constantly yanked around by emotions.
It's a very compelling picture of liberation, definitely. The idea that negative emotions could just dissolve, that life could become more effortless.
Just by understanding who you really are.
It's a radical idea. Think about how much energy we spend wrestling with negativity. Could it really be that simple? A shift in understanding.
So the stage is set. This deep dive, it's all about uncovering this greatest secret. Something maybe hidden in plain sight.
Right. And chapter 2 kicks off the reveal. It starts with that Locke Kelly quote.
So close you can't see it. So subtle your mind can't understand it. So simple you can't believe it. So good you can't accept it. Why start there, do you think?
Well, it's like a mental reset button, isn't it? It prepares you, tells you the answer might not be what your logical mind expects.
Like it's too fundamental.
Exactly. Or it just doesn't fit our usual ways of thinking. Like looking for your glasses when they're on your head.
Okay. So what is this core truth then? The book lays it out pretty fast. You are not your body. You are not your mind.
Straightforward.
Yeah.
And Muji's quote gives you that choice, right? Identify with the body.
Which brings pain.
Or identify with your true self, which is infinite joy. And Lester Levinson is very direct about it. Let go of the belief that you are your body. That's step one.
That's a big one. It comes up in so many traditions, doesn't it? The body as just a temporary vehicle.
It does. I mean, think about it. Your body changes constantly. You're not physically the same as you were 10 years ago.
Sure.
But there's still that sense of you being there.
Yeah.
Right? A continuity. It suggests our real identity is maybe beyond the physical form.
And that fear of death is tied right into identifying with the body.
Deeply tied. Because the body has an end.
Okay, so not the body.
Yeah.
Then it tackles the mind. That constant chatter, the stream of thoughts.
Yeah.
That's not you either.
Right. Peter Lowry calls the mind just a collection of thoughts that constantly appear and disappear.
And Levinson goes even further. If there are no thoughts, then there is no mind. Mind is only thought. That's huge for people like us who feel defined by our thoughts.
It really challenges our everyday experience, yeah. We tend to equate thinking with being conscious, with being.
But the book's saying there's something deeper, an awareness behind the thoughts.
Exactly, like watching clouds drift across the sky. The clouds change, but the sky remains. It's always there.
So Rupert Spira's question helps here. Are you a thought? Are you a feeling? It pushes you to look for that constant sky.
Precisely. To find that which is aware of the thoughts and feelings, not the thoughts and feelings themselves.
Then the book brings in this idea of the ego, or the person, this kind of composite of body, mind, beliefs, experiences.
And all the limitations and fears that come with identifying only as that.
Feelings of vulnerability, lack, that fear of death again.
Rupert Spira calls it the tragedy and comedy of living on behalf of an illusory self.
And Jan Fraser says the ego makes so much noise
Such a racket.
that you can't hear who you really are underneath it all, like trying to hear a whisper during a rock concert.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. The ego, as described here, is like this self-built identity. It thrives on separation, on comparison.
Constantly defining itself, protecting its borders.
Exactly. And our anxieties or insecurities, they often stem from that limited sense of self, like building a tiny fence and worrying about what's outside, instead of seeing the huge field you're actually in.
Then comes the really powerful bit, the contrast. Who you really are.
What are the words they use?
Unlimited, perfect, permanent, impersonal, always stable, constant happiness and peace, allowing, accepting, free from aging, sickness, suffering.
Wow. That's a complete turnaround from the description of the person.
It's a totally different way to understand yourself, offering a completely different identity.
It's a radical redefinition, moving from finite, individual, to something boundless, universal, almost.
The impersonal part feels a bit strange at first.
It does, but I think it points to a shared essence, something fundamental we all have beyond our individual stories, not just isolated little units.
And that impersonal nature is linked to permanence, freedom from suffering, those really desirable states.
Right. Okay, so chapter 3, the reveal continued. It really drills down on this. You are awareness itself, not just a person having awareness.
And that telescope analogy from Francis Lucille is brilliant. You, awareness, are the astronomer.
Looking through the telescope, which is your body and mind.
Exactly. It makes the separation so clear. Observer versus instrument.
Your body and mind become tools, yeah. Tools through which awareness experiences the world. But they aren't the experiencer.
Lucille says the fundamental mistake is believing a human being is experiencing awareness.
Instead of realizing awareness is the underlying reality. That only awareness is aware.
Okay, but then the logical question comes up. If it's all one awareness, why can't I read your thoughts?
Good question. The book explains it as awareness getting localized. Through the individual mind, through our belief in being separate.
Like a filter.
Kind of like a filter or a lens, yeah, creating the sense of separate experience. But it also says moments of deep compassion, love.
Those are glimpses of connection to the underlying unity.
That seems to be the idea. Like the filters get thinner for a moment. The belief in separation is what keeps the walls up, mostly.
And the really crucial point here is that becoming awareness isn't something you do. It's not a future goal.
No, it's about recognition. Recognizing what you already are right now.
Mooji's quote nails it. You can lose everything else, but you can never lose the awareness that you are. It's always there, unchanging.
Exactly. Not about achieving enlightenment, more like peeling back layers of misunderstanding, finding the glasses on your head.
Which leads right into the awareness practice, a 3-step thing.
Okay, what are the steps?
1, ask yourself, am I aware? 2, notice awareness. 3, stay as awareness.
Simple.
Simple, but the book says that first question is key. It pulls your attention away from the thought stream.
Interrupts the chatter.
Right. And Mooji's quote again, you are already awareness itself, not the one trying to be aware. It's a subtle shift, just noticing.
It's a direct method, a way to actually feel that underlying awareness. Asking, am I aware, points you right to it.
And that camera lens analogy helps with staying as awareness.
From the teacher,
Well,
widening the focus.
Yeah, instead of focusing on one detail, you widen out, take in the whole scene, that open, receptive presence.
That makes sense. An open awareness rather than a narrowly focused one.
Okay, then, chapter 4 throws a curveball. You're dreaming. It's time to wake up.
Ah, the dream analogy. Lester Levinson just says it flat out. This life is a dream.
Not just a metaphor, it sounds like.
It's a really profound metaphor. It
Yeah.
challenges our whole sense of reality, doesn't it? Suggests things aren't as solid or fixed as we think.
Like night dreams. They feel totally real when you're in them.
Incredibly real. Vivid emotions, scenarios.
Mm.
Then poof, you wake up, realize your mind created it all.
And Deepak Chopra takes it further. We are right now in a lucid dream.
Whoa.
So the book draws parallels. Night dreams created by mind, waking state as another dream created by consciousness.
But it acknowledges rules in this dream, right? Like physics.
Yeah, there are consistent rules. But the end point for everyone is waking up, realizing it was all a dream. Which implies nobody was ever really harmed.
That's a very different perspective on suffering and loss. It offers a larger context.
It highlights the creative power of consciousness, maybe, and the impermanent nature of experience.
Yeah, and seeing suffering as part of this transient dream can lessen its ultimate grip, perhaps. Not denying the experience within the dream, but seeing beyond it.
Then we get the mountain of consciousness metaphor. I like this one.
How does that work?
It's about perspective widening. Down in the valley, identifying with the person, your view is limited.
Stuck in the details.
Right, but as you move up the mountain towards awareness, the view becomes all-encompassing. You see the whole landscape.
A higher vantage point.
Yeah.
Where things look different.
Yeah. Muji's quote about reaching a point where nothing matters at all, nothing, 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 and all is perfection only. That captures the mountaintop view. Acceptance.
It visually represents those different levels of awareness. From the ego's limited view, problems seem huge. From awareness, interconnectedness, perfection, seeing the whole picture.
Okay, chapter 5. Shifting gears to freedom from the mind. Key message. Mind's a powerful tool, but believing all its thoughts causes suffering.
Crucial point. Jan Fraser's quote, "It isn't necessary for the mind to be quiet."
Right. All that matters is that you not listen to what it's saying as if it were true. Just create some distance.
This is so relevant because mental chatter is, well, pretty universal. The book isn't saying stop thinking. That's impossible.
Just don't get swept away, especially by the negative stuff.
Exactly. Byron Katie. Every problem perceived to be out there is really nothing more than a misperception within your own thinking. It puts the power back inside.
The book mentions the mind produces positive and negative thoughts, but the negative ones cause the grief.
Makes sense.
And that virtual reality headset analogy is good. Getting lost in thought, disconnected from right now.
Totally. Like you're living in the movie in your head instead of reality.
Yeah. Eckhart Tolle's warning. You believe that you are your mind. This is the delusion. The instrument has taken you over. The tool becomes the master.
Yeah. And the mind, if it's just running on autopilot, tends to loop on worries, fears, regrets. Creates stories that aren't real, not based on the present.
And the suffering comes from believing those negative stories. That's hammered home. Lester Levinson on taking responsibility for feeling.
Right. And it points out the mind's repetitive habits, only 3 main types of thoughts.
Measuring, comparing, describing. We can all recognize those loops, I think.
Absolutely. Seeing those patterns helps detach, realizing they're just habitual mental noise, not profound truths.
Then a really big point. The mind creates the illusion of being a separate body mind and the illusion of time.
Past and future only exist in thought.
Yeah. Julian Barber's quote, if you try to get your hands on time, it's always slipping through your fingers. It isn't there at all. Kind of mind-bending.
It is. Dwelling on past or future means we miss the present moment, the only reality we actually have.
And awareness can only be recognized now, in the present, not in memory or projection.
Makes sense. Okay, chapter 6. Understanding the power of feelings. Negative feelings take energy, not our true nature.
That's the idea. They require effort, resistance. Positive feelings are more effortless, aligned with our nature.
And they originate from within, not just caused by external events.
Right. Anthony DeMello. No person on earth has the power to make you unhappy. Nobody told you this. They told you the opposite. Puts responsibility back on us.
It's empowering, though. I mean, our emotional state isn't just dictated by circumstance. It's about our reaction.
So when a negative feeling pops up, the book says, ask, am I that feeling or am I the one that is aware of it?
Back to being the awareness,
Yeah.
the witness.
Yeah. Create space, observe it instead of getting swept away. That observation alone can lessen its grip.
Okay. Then chapter 7, the end of negative feelings, suggests a thought or feeling is the only thing separating us from our true nature.
And the practice is, just be aware of negative feelings without resistance, expression, or judgment.
Sounds like allowing. Shakti Katerina Meiji. Don't be afraid of feelings. Let them come up and be released. Don't get tangled.
It's a direct approach to processing emotions. Instead of suppression or analysis, radical acceptance.
Allowing them to be present without fighting them. The idea is they'll naturally run their course and fade if you don't resist.
It even suggests welcoming them, the opposite of resisting. That feels counterintuitive.
Yeah, why would welcoming something bad make it leave?
The logic seems to be that resistance feeds it energy. Fighting it validates its power.
Whereas welcoming is acceptance. No judgment, no pushing away. You starve it of the fuel of your struggle. It can just dissolve.
Interesting. Okay, Chapter 8, No More Suffering, directly links suffering to believing negative thoughts. Byron Katie again.
When I believed my thoughts, I suffered, but that when I didn't believe them, I didn't suffer. And that this is true for every human being. Pretty direct cause and effect. It really simplifies it. Life has challenges, sure, but suffering comes from our interpretation, the negative thoughts we attach. Focus shifts from controlling events to examining internal responses.
And the root cause of that suffering, believing we're a separate, limited person.
Instead of the truth of oneness, infinite eternal consciousness awareness.
That illusion of separation is pegged as the source of anxiety, insecurity, fear of loss, vulnerability, need to protect the self.
Recognizing the underlying unity dissolves that separation and the suffering tied to it.
Chapter 9 gets into dissolving limiting beliefs. Beliefs are just repeated thoughts we accept as true.
Right. The teacher's quote, "All beliefs are imagined limitations."
And Katie, a thought is harmless until we believe it. Our conviction gives them power.
Exactly. Beliefs often run subconsciously, like filters shaping how we see everything. It's our unquestioning acceptance that creates the limits.
They run like automatic programs, the book says, projecting themselves into our experience, creating self-fulfilling prophecies.
Anthony DeMello again. There is only one cause of unhappiness.
Yeah.
The false beliefs you have in your head. That's a strong statement on belief systems.
Our subconscious beliefs really dictate a lot. Behavior, reactions, the reality we experience. We act in ways that confirm them, even negative ones.
So how do we dissolve them?
Awareness, that's the tool. Consciously recognize them as untrue, weaken their hold.
Shine a light on them.
Exactly. The book even suggests telling your subconscious to highlight them, bring them into conscious awareness for examination.
So bringing them into the light lets you question their validity. See, they're just thoughts you believed. That's the first step to releasing their power.
Okay, Chapter 10, the big one. Everlasting happiness. It states definitively, your true nature, awareness, is happiness.
Ramana Maharshi. Happiness is our natural state. It's not something to find, it's already in us.
This loops back to the core promise. Happiness isn't external, acquired. It's the inherent quality of awareness, those moments of joy we feel, glimpses of that reality.
Right. And seeking it externally, possessions, achievements, relationships,
leads to fleeting happiness. Because those things are impermanent. Lasting happiness is internal, recognizing awareness.
it identifies a key block. The thought, I don't want this. Resistance to what is.
Yeah, that internal conflict obscures our natural state of happiness.
Okay, and the deep dive wrap-up mentions Chapter 11 briefly. The world, all is well.
Just touches on it. The physical world is illusion, a manifestation of mind. Consciousness as the substance of the universe.
Big idea.
Suggests our individual and collective thoughts help create our reality experience. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
Definitely expands the illusion concept beyond just the self to everything. Deep interconnectedness. Consciousness shaping experience.
So let's try and boil this down. The greatest secret we've unpacked. It's this profound idea that you, the listener, you're not just this limited person defined by body and thoughts.
You are the infinite underlying awareness, the ground of all experience.
And that true nature is everlasting happiness and peace, inherently.
And realizing this involves a huge shift in identification, away from the limited person towards recognizing that boundless awareness you are.
With key practices like that, awareness practice, asking, am I aware?
And noticing the presence of awareness regularly.
Also, observing thoughts without automatically believing them, seeing them as just mental events passing through.
And welcoming, allowing feelings, not resisting, releasing negative emotions, connecting to that underlying joy.
Plus, using awareness to spot and dissolve limiting beliefs, those ingrained patterns causing perceived limits and unhappiness.
Questioning them is the first step to freedom from their grip.
It's a really empowering perspective, isn't it? That suffering often comes from just misunderstanding who we are, getting caught in untrue thoughts, the illusion of separation.
And seeing the world as a reflection of consciousness, individual and collective.
It really invites a massive shift. How we relate to our inner world, the outer world, freedom and happiness aren't distant goals. They're right here, waiting to be recognized.
Already present within.
So, a final thought. Circling back to that last chapter, The Greatest Secret Practices, maybe try experimenting with this affirmation. I intend to be fully conscious of my true nature, awareness.
I intend to fulfill my purpose and live my life in the joy of the infinite awareness that I am.
I have made the decision to be the eternal, indestructible, pure awareness that I am. What happens for you, listener, when you consciously choose to identify with that? With the vast, unchanging awareness, not the fleeting person?
It's definitely something to explore, something to try out.